Good afternoon, friends. It's Wednesday, August 5th, and it's a very late daily reflection. Too many Zoom things going on today. So let's zoom through the reflection. For the last couple of months, I've watched the transformation of a front yard. First, a new walk from the sidewalk to the house was laid. Then a short time later, the walk was torn up. The big stepping stones were gone. The yellow tape zigzagged across the empty path. Then a low concrete wall, retaining wall, was poured on the very front of the yard, right behind the sidewalk, and it curved around as the house went to the side yard and the side street. I noticed stones were being applied, giving to that concrete, giving it a rock wall effect. And then I noticed that she had brought forth her umbrella stand and the big umbrella that would go over a picnic table in the backyard, for example, and would work under that umbrella during the hot, blazing sun. I went by the other day as she was finishing the rock wall, adding the grout between the rocks, and smoothing it with her brush. I stopped to talk to her. I said I really liked what she'd been doing to the yard. I'd been watching the changes that were being made over the last couple of years, but especially the last couple of months, which it seemed intense. I said I really liked the rock wall that she had built there. She thanked me for recognizing her work. She also gave me way too much information about that pathway from the sidewalk to the front steps, which was now a crime scene. And she said it would be fixed soon. I said I was sorry to hear about the disaster that they discovered with the walk, but I didn't think that it made much difference for me, per se. Now I noticed that some of the changes she talked about. Ultimately, I'll stop back and chat with her about the new work that's being done. I saw that gravel was now in the crime scene, and big flagstones were there, so I'm guessing new work. When I did ask her what was the motivation for the changes, she told me it was plain and simple. When you don't go to work for a couple of months because you can and must work from home, I suddenly saw things in a different light in my front yard. See, I've been sitting in the front room looking out at that yard, and I was not so happy with what it looked like. My husband, he's been sitting in the kitchen looking out into the backyard, and that's his job to make the changes back there. So COVID-19 made you make improvements on your property? Yes, she said, and then asked, is that a good thing that comes out of this stuff? Sounds similar to a question that I posed yesterday when I shared the conversation with the checkout clerk who asked me if COVID-19 was good because it forced so many churches to go online with worship. Yeah, sometimes we never make a change until we're forced into it. Sit and look out to a front yard and imagine something different. We don't like the view. We know we need to change and we want to worship, but we can't gather because others could get sick. The car breaks down and the mechanic says, sure, we can fix it, but it will cost you $2,500. And this may not be the first of the major expenses on this old car. And this might be the time the computer decides to not start up anymore. You know, those 5-7-year-old computers, they get tired. Or the cell phone falls into the sink, and that rice absorbing the water idea just doesn't work out this time. No resurrection for the phone. Sometimes we make changes kicking and screaming, sometimes with sighs of relief. I remember when the associate pastor in my home congregation wanted to make Youth Sunday more memorable. He did well. We had some good musicians in our Luther League at the time, and he wanted to incorporate them into the worship. We had 2 guitar players, a trumpeter, a drummer, a keyboardist, some good singers, and of course, me. Well, the pastor had discovered a service called the Chicago Folk Service. You know, that was back in ancient days of the late 60s, early 70s. And we practiced it secretly for 2 months on our Sunday night Luther League meetings. Of course, I was given the speaking parts. Youth Sunday was always the last Sunday of the year, that Sunday between Christmas and New Year's. Traditionally a very low attendance Sunday, and the youth always led worship for as long as I can remember. We did that Sunday too, and I remember feeling good about it. 2 weeks later, after our Christmas vacation was over, the senior pastor showed up at our Luther League meeting. We knew something was up. And he told us he was not happy, and a lot of members of the congregation were not happy either. I remember sitting there thinking as he was making this edict, there are more people complaining about the service than were actually at the service. How could that possibly be true? Well, when I became a pastor, I understood the math that happens. I also recall the strong voice of one of our high school seniors who asked, what wasn't so acceptable? Was there something wrong with the words? Was it the music? Was it that we used guitars, trumpet, drums, keyboard instead of the organ? I remember thinking, boy, you've got a lot of nerve standing up to the pastor like that. As I recall, the problem was that it simply wasn't the way we do worship here. No other reason. I guess we didn't want to change or think about it. Change does happen. Some like it. Some kick and scream about it. Some are able to see a new horizon and embrace it. I'm at times fearful that the only way we change anything at church is when we're forced into the change. And we were forced into a change back in March. I know I didn't think it would last this long, but it has. And right now, the ending seems so far away. We're still in a dark tunnel, and I don't know what's going to take place. And then I think when we do return, what will worship look like? The pandemic of 1918-1919 gives a glimpse of the future, an altered worship experience for a period of time. I'm told by those who have recorded it that worship changed when people came back. Singing stopped for a while. We know it's returned, so that's good news. Things will return. But that makes me wonder, how about we try something new? How about we try, instead of resisting change and lamenting that we can't worship the way we did back in January and February, how about if we embrace this worship style? How about at least accept it as a new way to worship? I also believe that we here at Shepherd of the Hills will continue to broadcast worship services well into the future. We'll do so because it provides a service, pun intended, for those who are unable to be present with us, those who are homebound or vacationing. And Lord knows we have a lot of people who love to vacation during the entire year here at Shepherd of the Hills. Now they can join us online and feel at home. Imagine you're sick some Sunday, and instead of missing what's happening, you can tune in and participate in worship as you recover either in bed or on the couch or in your chair, in your pajamas, or get dressed up. Yes, we are changed people, and it's not all for the bad. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday, seeing these faces in these pictures, but also seeing your comments as they scroll up when worship takes place. I look forward to the symbols that I get from Joan and Kevin, the videographers, the thumbs up that we're alive, and oh, somebody's calling in. So see you Sunday. And until then, please remember, wash your hands a couple times a day, 20 seconds at a time. Use the hand lotion to make them nice and soft afterwards. Take care of one another. Love one another. Sacrifice for one another. If it's not part of your family, please stay those 6 feet away so that you stay safe and they stay safe. If it's your family, snuggle up and hug one another. Hold each other tight. This is going to be a weird month as school starts, and kids head off to what? The dining room table, the living room, the desk you're creating in a corner. Things will happen. But let's be safe out there. See you on Sunday.